You ever wake up thinking the worst thing on your to-do list is wrangling a busted fence, and then by sundown, you're staring down the barrel of a war you didn't pick? That's how it started for me. And buddy, if you told me a year ago I'd be leading a rebellion against a homeowners association I never signed up for, I'd have laughed you off my porch. But here we are. So picture this, 30 years of sweat and red Texas dirt, every inch paid for with the last of my old man's money, every memory, dogs, marriage, my best years, buried deep in the soil. Then one day, I get this letter, smells like a threat, looks like a scam, but it's got an official header, Cedar Hills Homeowners Association. Now, I don't live in any suburb. Hell, my nearest neighbor's 3 miles away. And the only thing HOA stands for out here is hope our animals stay put. But when I open it, my stomach just about hits my boots, says I've got unauthorized structures, non-compliant fencing, even improper signage, whatever that means, and I've got until next week to fix it or face daily fines. And wouldn't you know, they attached a blurry photo of my old red barn like they'd caught Bigfoot out back. I laughed, dropped the letter under my coffee cup, figured it was some kind of clerical mess-up, till 3 days later, a white SUV rolls slow down my private road. Out steps a woman who looks like her khakis could cut steel, clutching a clipboard like she's serving the Constitution. She's Karen Lansdale, HOA president, and she comes right up, grinning like she's doing me a favor, talking about development standards, community compliance, all that jazz. I told her straight, my land isn't part of your HOA. I've got deeds older than your hairdo. And if you want to test that, be my guest. She didn't back down, just flipped that clipboard and showed me a map with my property highlighted, something about future growth overlay. I asked if they voted to take my land while I was fixing fences, and she just smiled like I was some lost steer. Said I could cooperate or face legal action. Well, I told her where she could stick her paperwork and watched her drive off, dust and all. But right then, I knew this wasn't a mistake. Somewhere, someone had drawn a line through my home and decided I'd just roll over. That night, I called Ben, my old army buddy turned attorney. Man could read tax code while skinning a rattler. I sent him every deed and map I had. An hour later, he called, voice low, county maps had my land inside the Cedar Hills overlay, but my deed said clear as day it was mine, dating back to my dad. Ben figured there'd been a glitch when the county switched its system, and the HOA was jumping at the chance. If land looks unclaimed in the right database, sneaky HOAs can slip in, claim jurisdiction, and suddenly, your ranch is community property. Never thought bureaucracy would try to rob me. Faster than a cattle rustler. We filed for a restraining order that day, but I wasn't waiting around. I rode the property line, found fresh survey flags, stacks of fence posts, even concrete. Somebody planned to start building, not ask permission. And just when things couldn't get weirder, a kid named Jeremy showed up at my gate, said he'd worked down the road and was looking for a job. He was sharp, hungry, knew his way around tools, and for a while, I thought maybe he was just another drifter. But he asked a lot about legal trouble, cameras, and old paperwork. I chalked it up to curiosity, till one of my trail cams went dead and an SD card vanished. Only me and Jeremy knew that spot. And the next morning, a drone was buzzing over my porch. Ben told me to be careful. The kind of careful that means you check your locks twice and sleep with your boots on. Then the HOA started flooding me with new fines, $3,000 for tall grass. Dangerous livestock, you name it. Even attached photos taken from my own trail cam angles. That night, I caught Jeremy on his phone behind the bunkhouse, talking low, sounding like he was reporting in. He didn't deny it when I caught him, just packed up and left. Didn't need to say anything. By then, I knew this wasn't just some paperwork blunder. This was a coordinated hit. The next day, Ben got the restraining order. No construction, no claims until we sorted it out in court. We marched right into the HOA office, and you should have seen Karen's face. She smiled that snake smile. Said they were just following county data. Ben told her we'd love to see her try that argument under oath. We left, but I could feel the storm brewing behind us. That night, I went public, posted a video showing the whole mess, map overlays, fake fines, even the trail cam footage. I figured maybe a few folks would care, but within a day, it was blowing up. Ranchers, lawyers, everyone who'd ever Tangled with an HOA came out swinging in the comments. Local news picked it up. Karen called my video defamatory. I fired back with the deed and court orders. Even Sheriff Molina, good man, known me 20 years, went on TV and called me well within my rights. Suddenly, neighbors started siding with me. Quiet folks who'd never spoken up before. Turns out, nobody likes a bully with a clipboard. But Cedar Hills didn't quit. I woke up to chainsaws, crews clearing brush, laying rebar, armed with another fake permit. I confronted them, told them if one post went in, they'd be pulling it out with tongs. They packed up, but I knew it wasn't over. Ben dug through the old county archives and found gold. My dad had filed a trust in '89, locking those 500 acres so tight. Not even the county could redraw the lines without my say-so. Turns out, the only reason the HOA got this far was because the trust was never digitized, just buried in a drawer. That was the twist, the missing link that broke their claim. We gathered up the neighbors, found out Cedar Hills had been trying the same trick on them, too. An old pipeline surveyor mapped out the real lines. A former compliance officer found they'd even forged environmental permits. This wasn't just my fight anymore. It was a pattern. We formed a coalition, Frontier Watch, started fighting. Back as a group. The news got wind of the whistleblower. A former HOA board member handed us emails and notes showing Karen had gone rogue, making deals, authorizing threats, even cozying up to county officials for the right signatures. When it hit the airwaves, Cedar Hills imploded. Karen resigned, or got thrown out, right before the state AG opened an investigation into her and her county. Buddy, some say she tried starting over with a shady land development group, but this time, we were ready. When the feds circled, we filed an injunction, brought it to court, packed the place with every landowner and reporter for 50 miles. The judge listened, weighed every map, deed, camera, and dirty trick, and in a 10-minute recess, came back with a ruling that felt like the first rain. After a long drought, 500 acres, protected, exempt, off-limits to HOA, county, and federal hands. Reprimand to the HOA, fraud investigation to Karen and her cronies. That was justice. That was the taste of freedom you don't forget. So now, it's quiet again. Grass growing tall, cattle lowing in the dusk, neighbors stopping by more often than before. We audit the records every 6 months. We keep an eye on the board meetings. Because vigilance doesn't sleep, but for the first time in a long time, I do. And let me ask you, if a mistake in a computer almost cost me everything, how many folks out there have lost more and never knew? Where do we draw the line between oversight and overreach? Drop your own story, your take, your fight in the comments, because I know I'm not the only one. And I'll tell you this much, when you stand up for what's yours, you might just find half the town standing with you that you'd think a courtroom win and the weight of a judge's gavel would be the end of it, right? But out here, every good rain just brings up a new patch of weeds. So even as Cedar Hills crumbled and Karen skipped town, I knew that woman wasn't done. She just changed tactics. It started with a letter from the Office of Federal Land Management. Official paper, heavy envelope, all the right seals. Turns out, Karen's new gig was lobbying to have my northern acres, those same 500 that had been protected by my father's trust, designated as an economic reinvestment zone. The kind of thing that sounds noble on a press release, but really just means more ways to draw lines, break land apart, and funnel it into someone else's hands. If the feds signed off, I could be staring down eminent domain, no matter what any local judge said. I sat on the porch a long time, just watching the horizon, breathing dust and mesquite, thinking about how easily a life's work can be penciled over by people who never set foot in your fields. That night, we called another meeting. Same old barn, same heater rattling, same faces, Rebecca, Bill, Helen, a couple of the newer folks clutching mugs of cheap coffee. We're not just up against HOA tricks anymore, I told them. We're fighting someone who's learned how to play Monopoly at the federal level. Bill came through again with maps, overlays, and a stack of paperwork that'd make your head spin. Turns out, Karen's new company was tied to a developer in Arizona already under investigation for land grabs. Rebecca had found permits, public records, hell, even email chains connecting the dots. It wasn't just me. They'd set their sights on a half-dozen ranches, some smaller, some as big as mine, all using the same overlay error scam. Ben, never one to blink at a bigger fight, filed for an emergency injunction in federal court, claimed fraud, misrepresentation, and abuse of process, and somehow got a judge to freeze everything, at least for a little while. But the other side had deep pockets and slick attorneys, the kind who smile with all their teeth and bill by the minute. The courthouse packed out for the hearing. Folks standing in the aisles. Farmers in Sunday shirts, city kids with cameras, local news crews. Everybody hungry to see whether justice actually meant anything anymore. They tried sending in their new president, a fella so polished he looked allergic to dirt, bow tie and all, talking about community development and the greater good. Karen, of course, didn't show. But we had Marcus, the old board whistleblower, up there telling the judge how all this started. Not with community need, but with a handful of folks using county glitches to steal land under the radar. They tried to erase a man's legacy for profit, he said, and the room just stopped cold. Then Ben got up and laid it all out. Misfiled deeds, missing data, secret meetings, drone footage, the works. You could feel the tide turning. The judge listened, really listened, then asked the one question that made the room hold its breath. Why hadn't any of this come up sooner? Ben didn't flinch, because the database was broken. Your Honor. And they knew it. 10 minutes later, the judge comes back, says my trust deed trumps every HOA, county, or federal overlay. No reinvestment zone, no annexation, no development, period. Orders an investigation into the whole mess. Refers Karen, her county buddy, and that Arizona developer to the state AG for fraud and collusion. It wasn't just a win, it was a reckoning. Funny thing is, the fight changed more than just the map. Once word spread, folks from all over started checking their own records. Turns out, a lot of people had been quietly squeezed by the same tactics. Frontier Watch exploded overnight. Bill started running workshops teaching landowners how to audit their digital boundaries. Rebecca organized legal resources, and even Ben seemed to find a new calling. We weren't just defending land anymore. We were teaching people how to protect it. But the story wasn't over, not by a long shot. See, Karen tried one last desperate move, pivoted her advisory group into a full-on land acquisition firm, lobbied the state for a fast-track development permit on another ranch down the road. This time, though, we had the evidence and the spotlight. When the state AG's office moved in, armed with whistleblower emails, fake permits, even wire transfer records, it was like watching a dam break. Karen was indicted on charges that made national news. Curtis, her buddy in the county, cut a deal and flipped. That Arizona developer, too. The whole rotten tree came crashing down. So, I'd stand on my porch some evenings, coffee in hand, watching the grass grow back and thinking about what we'd started. The old boundaries held. The land was safe. But something bigger stuck. Neighbors who barely spoke before now looked out for each other. Folks brought barbecue and cold beer to our meetings, and every so often, I'd find a letter in my mailbox from a stranger saying, "Thank you for fighting." And the county? They hired a new zoning officer, digitalized every last record, and invited us, me, Bill, Rebecca, to help draft the new audit protocol. Even the sheriff swung by now and then, always with a grin and a joke about the famous rancher who beat the system. But the fight leaves a mark. I sleep a little lighter, check my fences more, keep 3 copies of every deed. Helen Morse, the widow from up the hill, still brings me plants, some kind of peace offering for all the trouble, I guess. I plant them along the porch. A row of reminders. Vigilance isn't just for courts or county halls. It starts at your own back gate. And maybe that's the lesson I never expected to learn. Land isn't just dirt and wire. It's roots, stories, stubbornness, and the people willing to stand for it when the paperwork says they're beat. I nearly lost half my life to a line on a map, but I got it back because I finally opened my gate and let folks in. Now, if you're still listening, maybe you fought your own battle. Big or small, or maybe you will someday. I'd say, don't wait till the wolves are at your door. Check your records, talk to your neighbors, stay sharp, and if you see someone getting squeezed, don't look away. We're stronger together than any glitch or greedy hand can ever be. That's what I know now. Boots in the dirt, sun coming up over the pasture. This land remembers, and so do I. So, What would you do if it was your name on that letter, your roots on the line? Let me know. I'll be reading.